After the last challenge he did, Shigeru couldn't stop thinking about Kentaro's words. It was supposed to be reassuring that his husband thought positively about his parenting skills. And yet, he couldn't get rid of the crawling feeling under his skin. The silent voice telling him he couldn't show any weakness in front of Kentaro to not show himself as the horrible parent he actually was. This was important to Kentaro, and perhaps even more for Aiko. He had to do his best. He tried his best in every aspect. But despite that...
Yeah? Can you do the bath tonight? I'm a bit busy.
A shaky breath escaped Shigeru's mouth, shiver running down his back when he glanced at Aiko playing with Bruno's ears. You can't take a break for a while?
I wouldn't ask if I could.
Right. Clenching and unclenching his hands in his lap, Shigeru took a deep breath before gently saving Bruno from the little hands, much to Aiko's apparent disappointment. It wasn't that big of a deal, right? He just had to check if the water wasn't too hot or too cold, and to make sure he held his hand behind Aiko's back at all times. Simple and easy. Come on, Aiko. It's bath time. Aiko squealed happily, apparently not noticing how much his voice trembled. You're always so happy in water, aren't you? He tried for a light tone, somewhat encouraged by the fact. But the moment he entered the bathroom, the happy image twisted, supplying him with a completely different one that made his blood run cold. The invasive thought that always came around, reminding him of how slippery things were, how little was needed for a disaster to strike, and how easy it was for him to hurt the most precious being they had. His grip on Aiko tightened at the same rate his heart now hammered into his ribs, his legs instinctively taking a step back from the bathtub as he pulled Aiko close to his chest. Leave me alone, please. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't let her get hurt. He rushed out of the bathroom, his hands shaking just as much as his breath, and only stopped in the living room to forcefully settle himself. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
Shige?
He barely managed to hold back the startled yelp, quickly clearing his throat as he turned around to face his husband. Oh, hey, you took a break.
Well, yeah, I heard you running away.
His eyes flicked between Aiko and him a few times before locking his gaze again.
What happened?
Nothing. Can you really not bathe her tonight too?
Yeah, I need to finish packing. The train's leaving in 2 hours.
I can pack for you. Just please give her the bath. Please. He hated his voice for coming out so weak. Hated he had to ask this of Kentaro every single time. Hated how his heart sank when Kentaro let out a deep, clearly disappointed sigh and motioned for him to hand Aiko over to him.
Fine. Don't forget the knee pads and sprays, okay?
Of course. Thank you. Kentaro just nodded before his face softened again when he turned his attention fully to Aiko, leaving Shigeru alone in the silence of their house. Yet the lump in Shigeru's throat didn't dissolve, even as he started packing the things Kentaro had prepared on their bed to pack up for his upcoming long weekend in Osaka for a league match. The sound of running water didn't help at all, but the utter disappointment in Kentaro's eyes when he once again threw the responsibility on him scared him so much more. Despite all his attempts, it was still just a pretend game. He wasn't the parent material Kentaro seemed to see in him. He wasn't the father Aiko deserved. and it was just a question of time before Kentaro realized it too. Stop it. He trusts you. He has faith in you. It's just one thing. But who was to say he wasn't just lying to himself about how well he managed in the rest? It wasn't like Aiko could tell him right now. Stop it. He carefully packed Kentaro's things, making sure he had everything he could need, and brought the bag down just as Kentaro walked out of the bathroom with obviously overjoyed Aiko in his arms. All good?
Yeah, I needed to change before going anyway.
Right. Should I put her to sleep?
It's fine, I got it. Say goodnight to Papa, darling.
He did smile as he waved Aiko's little arm, yet Shigeru's chest still constricted when he waved back, his own smile falling the moment Kentaro turned away. Of course Kentaro had it. He managed everything with an ease Shigeru could only dream about. He might as well put her to sleep too when I already bothered him. He slumped on the nearest chair with a sigh, desperately trying to shoo away the doubtful, anxious thoughts pushing into his mind. It didn't take long before the footsteps sounding down the stairs let him know Kentaro managed to soothe Aiko to sleep in record time once again.
All packed?
Yeah, I checked. You have everything.
Okay, thanks.
Silence settled between them, the kind that always made Shigeru squirm in his seat. He wasn't sure what to say though. Maybe there wasn't even anything he could say to save his face somehow. That is, until he flinched when Kentaro spoke up.
You know you'll have to learn eventually, right?
The words, despite being said in a calm tone, rushed through Shigeru's body and mind like an arrow, sending shiver down his back.
I'm not going to be around 24/7, like this weekend.
I know, but right now you are here, so...
Shige, don't run from this.
I'm not. I'm just... It's not that big of a deal for 3 nights, and then you'll be back, right? Kentaro sighed, crossing his arms over his chest.
And what if I leave for longer? Huh? What if I have a camp and leave for a whole week? What then?
I would figure something out.
And what exactly? She's a baby. She needs regular baths.
I know!
Then what's the issue? Why don't you want to do it?
Why can't you be a good parent? Shigeru clenched his jaw, fighting with everything to keep his emotions in check. His vision still hazed though, and he quickly averted his eyes to the side. He wanted to tell. He wanted to tell Kentaro about the thoughts he always had when he was supposed to give Aiko a bath. The thoughts that told him he would drop her and let her drown. But whenever he tried, his throat closed up, refusing to let the words out. As if Kentaro needed a more solid proof he was a horrible parent after all. What kind of father would have thoughts like that? He flinched when Kentaro sighed again and got up, throwing the bag over his shoulder.
I gotta go. Just try your best, okay?
Of course. Love you. He couldn't look up even when he heard Kentaro's footsteps getting further away, until the click of the main door submerged him in an actual deafening silence. The night was more difficult than he expected. Despite being used to Kentaro leaving overnight quite often once the league was in full swing, this time it felt colder than usual. If it was because he couldn't call Bruno over since the pup was dutifully guarding Aiko in her room, or because of the crushing shadow of disappointment hanging in the air after their argument, he wasn't sure. He just knew he was glad when the morning came, and that he didn't have to go to work that day. Aiko seemed confused when he gave her breakfast that morning, looking around from time to time as if looking for something, or rather someone. Right, it's the first time Ken left since we got her. He tried for a smile, some of the frost gathered around his heart melting when Aiko babbled at him back. It's okay, darling. Dad will be back in a few days. We can watch him on the TV tomorrow, what do you say? As if understanding every word, Aiko squealed happily, waving her little arms around. Okay, sounds like a plan. I wonder if he's going to call before the match. When away for a match, Kentaro always called after they finished practice to remind him to watch the TV or just check up. This time though, Shigeru wasn't sure if Kentaro was in the mood to talk to him. He'll call for Aiko, that's for sure. The thought sank his heart a little, but that's how it was, wasn't it? Parents checked on their children. He tried to busy himself throughout the day as best as he could, both with work and with making sure Aiko was entertained the whole time. His thoughts still wandered occasionally, sending cold shivers through his body every time he recalled Kentaro's disappointed face. And the fact that he would have to give Aiko a bath at some point froze his body even more, especially as the evening approached. What of it that he would rather die than let something happen to Aiko? Just thinking about hurting their little girl made him sick and instinctively pulled Aiko to his chest, a whispered promise hanging on his lips. It's fine. I'll think of some way. Maybe if I get a smaller basin, that could help. He startled when Aiko tapped and squished his face, her always bright eyes as if asking him what was wrong. Perhaps the strong perception skills really did run in the Kyotani blood. He forced a smile, carefully taking the little hands into his palms. It's okay. Papa will think of some way to make everything right, I promise. A shaky sigh left his mouth. He needed to think fast to fulfill that promise, but right now, the only thing he could think of were all his previous mess-ups, big and small. He really was a walking failure, wasn't he? If it wasn't for Kentaro. A loud whine startled him out of his thoughts, his heart speeding up upon seeing Bruno get up suddenly, staring into nothing with his ears pinned back before he swirled around in a circle and turned to them. What's wrong? Bruno just whined and turned around again, stopping in the same position as before as if asking Shigeru to follow him. For a second, a thought that someone was breaking in flashed through Shigeru's mind, but the more irrational part of him shut that fear down with just one look at the popper. He wasn't in a protective stance like usually when someone posed a danger. This was different. As if hearing his thoughts, or perhaps because he hesitated, Bruno barked and trotted over to him to nudge his shoulder before making a few steps towards the door and stopping, obviously waiting. Okay, I'm coming. He reached for Aiko to pick her up, but he didn't even get up on his knees when a deep rumble rattled with his core. Just a split moment later, the house started shaking under him, gaining on intensity every passing second. The glass panels in the windows rattled, the first cracks sending Shigeru's heart into his throat. Bruno, out! Trusting Bruno to understand, he grabbed Aiko, squishing her to his chest to shield her and hopefully soothe her cries. It's okay, it's okay. A loud cracking sound right behind him stopped his heart for a beat. He instinctively shielded Aiko with his body, just before sharp pain shot through his back and head. His ears rang, the hit knocking air out of his lungs and pressing him down. Straining his remaining strength, he somehow managed to push the huge bookshelf from him, gasping for air as he scrambled to his feet. Aiko was wailing now, but that was fine. Silence would be scarier. Feeling his arm losing strength, he clutched Aiko to him with all he had and ran through the cracking, shaking house downstairs and out, stumbling and struggling, but somehow managing to stay on his feet without crashing into that many things. He wasn't sure how he got out, just that they were suddenly standing on the grass. The ground wasn't shaking as much anymore, the only sounds he heard being his thundering heart and Aiko's crying. He cradled her in his arms, the pain in his back worse with every movement he made. But at least nothing could fall on them here. His knees gave up on him soon after the earth tremors stopped, his hands trembling despite them being much safer now. It couldn't have lasted longer than a minute, and yet...
It's okay, everything is fine, everything is okay.
He couldn't tell how much damage the earthquake did to the house in the falling darkness, but that mattered only a little right now. Scrambling the last bits of his strength, he got up on shaky legs and moved to where their car was parked. Carefully, he put Aiko down and motioned to Bruno to guard, before he rushed back inside to grab the car keys. Many more sounds reached his ears now. Voices of their neighbors, distant sirens, the barely hearable cracks of the window panels and bricks as they sat back. His whole arm tingled as he strapped Aiko into her car seat, failing him several times before he finally managed to buckle the belt properly. His head was killing him even as he finally sat down, but at least his desperate attempts to soothe Aiko seemed to be working since she stopped crying.
Rico, it's okay, sweetie, I promise. Everything is fine.
He contemplated pulling the car seat out in case another earthquake hit, but the moment he tried, his arm cramped before it stopped listening to him completely, the feeling sending shivers down his spine. Too scared he could drop Aiko if it happened again, he left the seat where it was and slumped by the open door, feeling first tears rolling down his cheeks as the situation fully dawned on him.